The mockery begins. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a sound like thunder rolling through space. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked forward, her boots clicking against the crystalline floor that reflected the light of 1,000 distant stars. She was humanity's first representative to stand in this hall, and possibly the last if things went poorly today. Around her, beings from 57 different worlds watched with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright disdain. The Valons, with their perfect silver skin and telepathic abilities, barely glanced her way. The Chronari, whose technology could bend space itself, whispered among themselves in frequencies humans couldn't hear. And at the center of it all, seated on a throne made from compressed starlight, was Supreme Arbitrator Zelthax of the Dominion Empire. Zelthax stood 12 feet tall, his body covered in scales that shifted between dimensions, making him appear both solid and translucent at the same time. When he spoke, reality itself seemed to pause and listen, so the insects from Earth finally develop faster than light travel, and immediately demand a seat at our table. How amusing! Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not kind laughter, but the sort that made Sarah's jaw clench. She had prepared for this moment for 3 years, studying every culture, every protocol, every possible scenario, but nothing had prepared her for the sheer arrogance she faced now. "Humanity comes in peace and friendship," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the weight of representing 8 billion souls. "We seek only to join the galactic community as equals." The word equals triggered another wave of laughter. Ambassador Thrix of the Nexus Collective, a being made entirely of living crystal, chimed like breaking glass. "Equals? Your species discovered fire merely 10,000 years ago. We were traversing galaxies when your ancestors were learning to walk upright." Sarah had expected this. Earth scientists had warned her that humanity was young by galactic standards. But youth didn't mean weakness. Age does not always equal wisdom, honored Thrix. Sometimes fresh perspectives bring unexpected solutions. Zelthax leaned forward, his multiple eyes focusing on her with predatory interest. "You speak boldly for a representative of such a primitive world. Tell me, human, what could your species possibly offer us? We have unlimited energy, perfect health, technologies that would seem like magic to your people. Your greatest achievements are mere toys to us." This was the moment Sarah had been waiting for. She pulled out a small device from her pocket, no bigger than a coin. "This is a quantum empathy resonator. Our scientists developed it last month." The laughter stopped. Several ambassadors leaned forward. "Impossible," breathed the usually composed Ambassador Corvain of the Mindweavers. "Emotional quantum entanglement has been theorized but never achieved." Sarah activated the device. Suddenly every being in the room felt what she felt. The pride in humanity's achievement. The hope for peaceful coexistence, and underneath it all, the fierce determination that had driven humans from caves to the stars in what the galaxy considered a heartbeat. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Zelthax stood, his form towering over the assembly. A lucky invention. Nothing more. "If humanity wishes to prove itself worthy of this council, you must pass the trial of convergence." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The trial of convergence hadn't been invoked in 3 millennia. It required a species to solve the 3 impossible problems: creating matter from pure thought, reversing entropy in a closed system, and unifying the consciousness of an entire race without losing individuality. "No species has ever completed even one of these challenges," warned Ambassador Yelith of the Eternal Archive, her voice carrying genuine concern. "To attempt all 3 is certain failure." Zelthax's smile revealed teeth that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Then humanity will fail, and Earth will become a protectorate under Dominion control. Unless, of course, you wish to withdraw your application now and accept a lesser status." Sarah felt the weight of the moment. Accept lesser status and humanity would be eternal servants. Accept the challenge and failure meant the same fate, but with humiliation. Yet something in her, something essentially human, refused to bow. "We accept the trial of convergence. Humanity will present our solutions in 1 solar rotation." The laughter that erupted this time was deafening. 1 solar rotation was barely a year. Nothing in galactic terms. Most species had spent centuries just understanding the problems. "The little insects have pride," Zelthax said, his amusement genuine now. "Very well. 1 solar rotation. When you fail, Earth becomes Dominion property." As Sarah left the chamber, she heard the whispers and laughter following her. They all thought humanity was finished. They had no idea what humans could do when cornered. Back on Earth, the news of the trial spread like wildfire. President Marcus Taylor addressed the planet from the United Earth Council chambers. "My fellow humans, we face our greatest challenge. The galaxy thinks we're nothing but upstarts, children playing with tools we don't understand. They've given us impossible tasks, expecting us to fail." He paused, letting the weight sink in. "They don't know us very well, do they?" The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every university, every research lab, every garage inventor and backyard tinkerer mobilized. The internet exploded with ideas, theories, and collaborative efforts that crossed every border and boundary. Dr. James Walsh, leading the team tackling the consciousness unification problem, stood before a collection of neuroscientists, philosophers, computer programmers, and surprisingly artists and musicians. "The galaxy thinks consciousness is just electrical signals and chemical reactions. But we know better. We know about the soul, about the connections that transcend physics." In Mumbai, Dr. Priya Sharma worked on reversing entropy with a team that included physicists, but also poets and dreamers. Everyone says entropy only increases. But what if we're looking at it wrong? What if chaos and order are just different perspectives of the same thing? Meanwhile, in a converted warehouse in Detroit, engineer Marcus Rodriguez led the Matter from Thought project. His team was the strangest of all: meditation experts, quantum physicists, and children. Kids imagine things into existence all the time in their minds. "We just need to make it real." The galaxy watched with amusement as Earth seemed to go mad with activity. The Valens monitored human communications and reported back to the Council. "They're not even following standard scientific protocols. They're mixing science with art, logic with intuition. It's chaos." Zelthax laughed when he received the reports. "Let them flail about. It will make their failure all the more satisfying." But something strange was happening on Earth. The more the different disciplines mixed, the more unexpected connections emerged. Musicians found patterns in quantum equations that mathematicians had missed. Poets described entropy in ways that revealed new mathematical relationships. Children's drawings inspired breakthrough technologies. 6 months into the trial, humanity made its first breakthrough, not in the expected way, but in a way that was uniquely human. They didn't solve the problems. They began to dissolve the boundaries between them. Dr. Walsh discovered that consciousness wasn't just in the brain but in the quantum field that connected all humans. Dr. Sharma found that entropy could be reversed by changing the observer's relationship with time. And Marcus Rodriguez's team learned that thought and matter were already the same thing. Humans had just been looking at them separately. As the year drew to a close, Sarah Chen prepared to return to the Galactic Council. But this time she wouldn't be going alone. Earth's solution required something the galaxy had never seen before: the participation of the entire human race. The night before the presentation, Sarah stood looking at the stars. Tomorrow, humanity would either become part of the galactic community or lose its freedom forever. But win or lose, they would show the universe what humans were truly capable of. The galaxy thought humans were primitive because they were young. They were about to learn that sometimes being young meant seeing possibilities that ancient eyes had long forgotten. The last laugh. The Galactic Council chamber had been reconfigured for the Trial of Convergence presentation. Floating platforms held thousands of observers from across the galaxy, all eager to witness humanity's humiliation. The betting pools heavily favored failure within the first minute of presentation. Zelthax sat upon his throne, his scales shimmering with anticipation. "The insects return," he announced as Sarah Chen entered. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her walked 5 other humans, each from a different continent, each representing a different aspect of human achievement. "Honored Council," Sarah began, "humanity presents our solutions to the 3 impossible problems." The Valen ambassador's telepathic voice rippled through the chamber. "You bring assistance? The trial is for your species representative alone." Sarah smiled. "That's where you're wrong. I'm not humanity's representative. We all are. Every single human alive." Before anyone could object, Marcus Rodriguez stepped forward with a device that looked more like a piece of art than technology. It was a sphere containing swirling colors that seemed to exist both inside and outside simultaneously. "The first problem," Marcus announced, "creating matter from pure thought. The Council assumes thought and matter are separate, But thought is merely matter arranged in specific patterns, and matter is thought given form. He activated the device. Suddenly, every human on Earth closed their eyes at the same moment. 8 billion minds focused on a single thought, channeled through quantum entanglement networks that connected every human brain to the device. In the center of the chamber, particles began to appear. Not just any particles, but arranged in a perfect replica of Earth itself, down to the smallest detail, spinning slowly in miniature. But more than that, the replica was alive with the thoughts and dreams of humanity, visible as aurora-like lights dancing across its surface. The council sat in stunned silence. This wasn't just matter creation. It was the manifestation of collective consciousness into physical form. Ambassador Corvain stood shakily. How? The energy requirements alone? Dr. Priya Sharma stepped forward. Which brings us to the second problem, reversing entropy. You think of entropy as disorder increasing over time. But disorder and order are subjective concepts. What appears as chaos from one perspective is perfect order from another. She produced a container that seemed to hold a piece of night sky, complete with stars. This closed system has been running for 6 months. By shifting the observer's temporal reference frame, we don't reverse entropy. We reveal that it was never increasing in the first place. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Entropy only appears to increase because consciousness experiences time linearly. She opened the container, and the piece of night sky expanded, filling the chamber with stars that moved backwards through their life cycles, from death to birth, while simultaneously moving forward. Several council members stood in shock, their understanding of physics crumbling. Impossible, Zelthax growled, but his voice carried uncertainty for the first time. Dr. James Walsh stepped forward for the final challenge. Unifying consciousness while maintaining individuality. Every species that attempted this either created a hive mind or failed entirely. They didn't understand that consciousness isn't singular or plural. It's both simultaneously. He activated a neural transmitter. Right now, every human on Earth is connected through quantum consciousness fields. We share thoughts, emotions, and experiences. But watch. The chamber's screens lit up with feeds from Earth. Humans everywhere were connected, sharing a collective experience, but each was also distinctly individual. A farmer in Kenya shared his knowledge of drought-resistant crops with a scientist in Norway, who shared her understanding of climate patterns with a child in Brazil, who shared his drawing of a better world with everyone. The knowledge flowed freely, but each person remained themselves, their uniqueness enhanced rather than diminished by the connection. We call it the Harmony Network, Walsh explained. Not one mind, not 8 billion separate minds, but something new. Unity through diversity. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Several member species demanded verification. Others called for immediate disqualification on technicalities. But the evidence was undeniable. Humanity had not just solved the 3 impossible problems. They had revealed that the problems themselves were based on false assumptions. Ambassador Yillith accessed her eternal archive, her ancient voice trembling. The old texts speak of this. The transcendent solution, where a species solves the problems by proving they were never problems at all, merely limited perspectives. It hasn't been achieved since the first ones disappeared eons ago. Zelthax rose from his throne, his form trembling with rage and something else. Fear. Tricks, deceptions. Humans are primitive. Sarah Chen stepped forward, and when she spoke, her voice carried the combined will of humanity. We were never primitive. We were just young. And being young means we haven't forgotten how to imagine impossible things and make them real. You've had millions of years to grow powerful, but you've also grown rigid. You've forgotten that the universe isn't just about technology or power. It's about connection, creativity, and the courage to see things differently. The human delegation activated their devices simultaneously. The miniature Earth expanded, the reversed entropy field spread, and the Harmony Network reached out, offering connection to any species willing to accept it. Not dominance, not subservience, but true equality through diversity. Several younger species immediately accepted the connection. They felt what humanity offered, not just solutions to problems, but a new way of existing, where competition and cooperation were not opposites but complementary forces. The Chronari ambassador, who had been silent throughout, suddenly laughed, not mockingly but with genuine joy. They've done it. They've shown us what we forgot in our age and arrogance. The universe isn't a hierarchy to be climbed, but a web to be woven. One by one, other species began to understand. The Valens, masters of telepathy, recognized in humanity's network something they had lost: the ability to connect without losing individuality. The Mindweavers saw in the matter from thought creation a bridge between the physical and mental they had sought for millennia. Zelthax stood alone, his Dominion Empire's philosophy of supremacy crumbling. This proves nothing. Power is what matters. Control is what, he stopped. Through the Harmony Network he could feel it. The combined will of not just humanity but now dozens of species choosing cooperation over domination. The galaxy was changing, and his empire of fear was ending. The trial of convergence is complete, announced the ancient observer. A being so old its origin species was forgotten. Humanity has not just passed. They have transformed the very nature of the trial. The question is no longer whether humanity deserves a seat on the council, but whether the council deserves humanity. Sarah Chen smiled. We don't seek to replace the council or dominate it. We offer partnership. Real partnership. The galaxy has enough resources for all, enough space for every species to thrive. We just need to stop seeing differences as weaknesses and start seeing them as strengths. The vote was called. One by one, species voted to not just accept humanity, but to restructure the council itself. The age of hierarchy was ending. The age of harmony was beginning. Zelthax, defeated but not destroyed, was offered the same choice as everyone: join the Harmony Network and maintain his individuality while gaining connection, or remain isolated in his supremacy. After a long moment, even he reached out and, for the first time in his existence, felt what it was like to be part of something greater without losing himself. As the ceremony concluded and humanity officially joined the galactic community, not as subjects or even as equals but as catalysts for transformation, Sarah reflected on the journey. The council had mocked humanity for being young and primitive. They had laughed at human ambition and dreams, but in the end, it was humanity who taught the galaxy how to laugh with joy instead of mockery, how to find strength in diversity, and how to solve impossible problems by realizing they were asking the wrong questions all along. The stars looked different that night from Earth, not because they had changed, but because humanity now knew they weren't alone, and more importantly, they had shown the universe that sometimes the youngest voice in the room has the most important thing to say. The last laugh belonged to humanity, but it wasn't mockery. It was the laughter of joy, of connection, of a future where impossible was just another word for not yet accomplished. And somewhere in the quantum foam that connects all consciousness, the first one smiled and whispered, "Finally, someone remembered what we tried to teach. The universe isn't about reaching the top, it's about lifting everyone up together." The new age had begun, and it started with humanity refusing to accept that anything was truly impossible.